Howard, you went to go speak to a big group of veterans, and you were sent there to teach them about leadership, but you couldn't do it, really.
My first exposure to this entire subject was at West Point about 4 years ago. And I was asked to speak about leadership to an elite group of cadets. I spent the entire day there. I brought my family with me. And I was so moved throughout the day about who they were, what they stand for, their level of patriotism, commitment to the country. It didn't feel proper for me to talk to them about leadership when they had taught me so many lessons throughout the day.
Do you think that you thought about veterans nearly enough until recently, until the past few years?
I wish this subject and my exposure to it would have come earlier. But I think the question for me now is, what is my responsibility now that I have witnessed it? And I think it's recognizing the sacrifice that these people have made is so significant. They're not coming back to a parade. In fact, Secretary Gates said something to me recently, and he said, you know, we probably have less than a year of the military coming back into civilian life before the American people kind of forgets about what has happened in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I feel like we can't allow that.
Rajiv, you opened the book with a pretty stunning statistic: 1.4 million veterans. About 55% feel disconnected from civilian life in this country. How do we bridge the gap?
Well, that's what we're trying to do with this book, because 1%, fewer than 1% of Americans have served in the military in Iraq and Afghanistan post 9/11. You add their direct family members, that's about 5% of our population. These folks, they're disconnected from the rest of America. And they feel it because they're coming back to a society that hasn't really followed what they've been doing. They don't know men and women who protect us, who bravely put their hands up to serve. It's very different than the World War II generation, when fathers, sons, brothers all served.
And they were lauded when they came back.
Exactly. Right now, you have men and women coming back, and their service and what they've done, what they've learned, what they're able to contribute isn't fully recognized.
Secretary Gates, who now sits on the Starbucks board, told you, Howard, war changes a person, but it doesn't make them dysfunctional. You're talking about just putting people aside who have PTSD and treating them differently.
And he has obviously sensitized me, and I think taught me valuable lessons about the military, what they experience, and how those experiences shape them when they come back. And I think what Rajiv and I have come together is, let's take our combined skill base and experience and our sphere of influence, and let's raise this issue.
You know, we spent time with veterans across the country who use their skills to work in challenging environments to swoop in the wake of natural disasters. I spent a couple of days earlier this year in Arkansas after a series of tornadoes walloped the areas north of Little Rock. Within a couple of days, dozens of veterans had shown up, backpacks in the backs of their pickup trucks, on their own, to come and help people dig out. This is, you know, one thing that's remarkable here is this generation of veterans. This wasn't a draft army. These were all men and women who put their hands up to serve. Now they're back. In many cases, they want to reconnect around service, around continuing to help their fellow Americans